Locations, put your location in the comment as y'all are coming in. I'll shout a few people out in a moment. As y'all coming in, shout out your locations in the comments. We're going to get started in a minute. Make sure everything is working as it's supposed to. We're live on Rumble Studio. Good morning, Rumble. We are live on YouTube. Good morning, YouTube. It tells us that we are live on X. Let me confirm. Yes, we are live on X. Good morning, X. We are live on LinkedIn. Good morning, LinkedIn. My name on all those platforms, Rumble, YouTube, X, and LinkedIn is Dre All Day. We are live on Facebook, Facebook/Work on Your Game University for the Facebook users out there. Live on Instagram, HDC77. Good morning, checking in from Miami. And we are live on TikTok. And TikTok is at Work on Your Game. As y'all are coming in, put your locations in the comments. Today we are talking about Mr. Jimmy Kimmel getting suspended / canceled. Maybe he's coming back. I think he might come back. I think his show may be brought back. Maybe his suspension is short-lived. Maybe he's completely canceled. His show will not come back. I don't think Jimmy Kimmel's going to disappear. I think he'll find a way to be out there one way or another. We're going to talk about that. There's a lot of things I have to say about this that will be addressed here today. Before we end, shout yourselves out in the comments as y'all are coming in. Funny thing that I saw this morning, I step outside my front door this morning. There's a pizza box, not right in front of my front door, but kind of over to the side. We have valet trash. They come get the trash. And like usually where I leave the trash, over to the side, maybe from the door, a few feet in front of, there's a pizza box. So I figured maybe somebody ate a pizza and just left the box in front of my place. And I didn't do anything. I just left it there. It's early in the morning. It's like 5 in the morning. I go back. When I come back from the gym this morning, I go and kick the box. I was just going to kick the box down a little bit down the hall, a little bit out the way in front of my door. And the box was heavy. And I'm like, I go open the box. There's a whole pizza. It was a Papa John's pizza. And it still smelled like Papa John's has a certain smell. There's a smell to a Papa John's pizza. I open the box. The whole pizza is in there. So somebody ordered a whole pizza from Papa John's. It got delivered and it had a name on it, but I don't know the names. It was like a last name. I don't know who the person was. It had a phone number, but the whole pizza was in there, still in the box, still intact, and hadn't been attacked. There were no ants or no anything like that. And the whole pizza's in there. So somebody got a pizza delivered. The delivery driver was so lazy that they just left it outside and they didn't even leave it in front of somebody's door. It was over on the side. So I have no idea how that happened. They didn't knock on my door. It would have been heard they knocked on my door, but it's next to my place and nobody claimed the pizza. So somebody missed out on the pizza from Papa John's last night. So Papa John's, y'all are out of a pizza that somebody didn't get. I guess they got their money back, whoever that person was, because they never got their food. And that pizza is still out there. So somebody's going to have to go get that pizza. But anyway, put your locations in the comments. Let me shout out a few people and we're going to get started in a moment. The topic again today is Jimmy Kimmel getting canceled. Lee, congratulations on the first comment. Good morning to you and thank you for the heart early and go popular. Angelica, good morning. Ron Johnson, gifted badge, good morning. Renee Dew from Greenville, North Carolina, good morning. Lee from Tifton, Georgia. Good morning, Ron Johnson, Ohio. Good morning. Traditional all day. Yes, tap everybody. Tap the screen as y'all are coming in. Jespia Mermaid. Jepsy Mermaid. All right, got it now. Good morning to you, Jepsy Mermaid. As y'all, Jacksonville, Florida. Shout out to Jacksonville. It's kind of quiet up there, but it is a nice place to live. Nice place to build a family, Jacksonville. A little bit too quiet for me, but I like it. Murphy the Mutt checking in from Bristol, Tennessee. Mr. Battle 791 from Louisville, Kentucky. Shout out to Louisville. Giga Dad, good morning from North Carolina. Keep on living for life says, why is everything around Kirk's situation not add up? You should ask Candace Owens. She's been digging into that. Carol Ann Collins from New York. Courtney, good morning. Thank you for the gifts early. DJ the Juggalo said, Jimmy Kimmel did blackface. Why are you supporting him? I supported him. What I said? I said today the topic is Jimmy Kimmel. I didn't say whether I support him or don't support him. I'm actually indifferent to Jimmy Kimmel. I don't even own a television. But let me get into my material before you start asking questions that make no sense whatsoever. But since you did ask the question, DJ the Juggalo, that does not make any sense, we will give you the benefit of what you said and give you the strawberry cheesecake. We'll give you the strawberry cheesecake, first award of the day. I didn't even get into my comments yet. You're already asking a foolish question, but there you go. And keep on living for life said, President is a snowflake. Okay. Again, haven't even gotten to my content yet. I didn't even say Donald Trump's name yet, but here we go.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
Moderators, by the way, be easy on the do not mute or block or suspend or kick out dissenters. If somebody dissents, let them dissent. Okay, we need the dissent, moderators. Moderators, we need the dissent. I can't use my soundboard if nobody is disagreeing. So we need the disagreement so I can use my soundboard. Soundboard makes it fun. If nobody's disagreeing with me, I can't use the soundboard. So moderators, only kick people out if somebody is actually spamming or trolling in a way that is interrupting the conversation. But if they're disagreeing, they are allowed to. We welcome disagreement over here. So now that we got that out the way, let me continue shouting out a few more people. Gene from upstate New York. Good morning, Jen. Thanks for the share. Tifton, Georgia. Heather, South Carolina. Good morning. Genghis Khan, Pennsylvania. XTR from California. I lost my spot. Carolyn Rudder, Oakwood, Georgia. Quail Ridge, Northern California. Carmen Harris, Greensboro. Shout out to Greensboro, North Carolina. Dwayne Mitchell, Detroit's in the building. SLI Slit 282 say, you know you had a slice. Now, I don't even really like eating pizza. Marky Man, good morning from Sacramento. Kuya Binya Shadal, Manson, North Carolina. Leah Melendez, Ohio's in the building. Ann Grammatico said PBG, Florida. What's PBG? Palm Beach Gardens? Shout out to Palm Beach Gardens. Casey Stapleton from Kansas. Shout out to Kansas. I've actually been to Kansas, a few towns in Kansas. Shout out to Kansas. A little bit too rural for me, but I've been there. Nay from Baltimore. Good morning. Susan, Huntsville, Alabama. Aaron Lee, Arkansas. Little Rock, Arkansas. Shout out to Little Rock. Angelica said, I think Kim should be fired permanently. By the way, who's Kim? Jimmy Kimmel? I don't know. You can permanently fire somebody like Jimmy Kimmel. We're going to get into that in a minute. Genghis said, you reap what you sow. We're going to get into that. Francis King, good morning. David Cheese from Connecticut. Jen from Kentucky, good morning. User from CA to Tennessee, good morning. Erica from Chicago. Genghis Khan, Whitehall, PA. Number one troller, good morning. As long as you don't actually troll, you can stay in here. Daniel Perez, Cleveland, Ohio. B. Brown said he can say what he wants to on his own time, not on company time. We're going to get into that. I'm glad you made that point. I'm going to address that. Golden Chaos, Chesapeake, VA. Sherry, 1967 from Michigan. Troller said, do you believe? I lost my spot again. Do I believe in Candace? What does that even mean? Do I believe in her? Believe in her to do what? I believe in her to do what she's been doing. She's already doing it. Let's see. B. Brown said, I already answered that one. Bella said, I'm going to be recognizing circular reasoning all day. Okay, well, you should have fun as long as, again, moderators don't mute. Do not mute or kick out anybody for disagreeing. We want the disagreements. Amanda, thanks for the follow. Murphy said, gotta have a soundboard. Yeah, yesterday we didn't get to use it too much because I think we've been a little bit too heavy on the mute button on disagreements. We need the disagreements so I can use the soundboard, folks. Brandy, good morning. Ron Johnson, thank you for the shares, both of you. Custom Cookies by Lori, Indiana. Lori, do you make oatmeal raisin cookies? That's my favorite kind of cookies, oatmeal raisin. So if you got a good oatmeal raisin, then I'm interested. Shorty from South Carolina. Don Johnson from Ohio. Angelica from Jacksonville, Florida. Shout out to Jacksonville again. Henderson, Nevada. Glow from New York. Janae T from Delaware. Kime from Raleigh, North Carolina. Shout out to Raleigh. Keona Singleton, Pittsburgh. Shout out to Pittsburgh. User Brazoria, Texas. Never heard of that town. Slick from Horse Branch, Kentucky. Pariquito from Temecula, California. Abington, VA. Valerie. Tammy Norman from Cleveland. Sam S. said, you shouting out states. Was interesting about that. Well, I'm shouting out the people. I'm just shouting out their locations. Deborah Jean, Oxford, PA. Again, never heard of Oxford either. I'm from Pennsylvania. Never heard of Oxford. CC, Birmingham, Alabama. I have heard of Birmingham. A couple more people, then we'll get into this, folks. I'm just shouting out people who are coming in. Missy Hall from Forest Hill, Maryland. Good morning. Tammy Norman, thanks for the share. Avante from Lawton, Oklahoma. I've actually been to Lawton, Oklahoma, believe it or not. Now living in Huntsville, Alabama, where I have not been. WVDYOQ. Person says, see my page. You keep posting emojis. What are you looking for here? B Brown, we will get to it. We get to it on my time. Josh Ribeiro said, do I think what Candace is sharing is true? Well, what she's doing is investigating. So it's not about it being true or false. B Brown, Knoxville. Wayne Reinhardt, good morning. Keep it real. Dally Matt from Charlotte. Susan said, soak your raisins in water for a bit, drain and add to batter. Best oatmeal raisin cookies. Susan, I'm not cooking any oatmeal raisin cookies. I will buy oatmeal raisin cookies, but I'm not cooking any. Nathan Don from Maine, reside in Florida, Central Florida now. Good morning. Warren, Ohio, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Jennifer Hilton, Wayne Reinhardt, respectively. I did that backwards. And Kim Gregg said, do you live in Huntsville? No, I said, I've never been to Huntsville, so I can't live there. I am from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I live in South Florida. Pat Denny Smothers, good morning. Bayou, Louisiana. And let's get to it. All right, let's get to it, folks. So what happened? Will Aviles over there on Instagram, good morning to you. He is checking in from Tampa. Shout out to Tampa. I have lived in Tampa, and I have been there many times. So Jimmy Kimmel had a monologue on his show on Monday, September 15th. Monday, September 15th, Jimmy Kimmel had a monologue where he said that the MAGA movement was desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. That's what Jimmy Kimmel said. Now, is what he said that crazy or incendiary? No. Is what he said true? Also no. But is it that crazy? Not really. Is that me defending Jimmy Kimmel? Not really. I think I'm defending objectivity. He said more crazy stuff about Trump/MAGA than that. But he said this, and he suggested that conservative leaders were using Kirk's death politically more than mourning or seeking justice. Did he suggest that? Yes, he did. Now, was it good timing for Jimmy Kimmel to say that? In the big picture, in a vacuum, the answer is no. He probably shouldn't have said it when he said it. But at the same time, do I understand why he said it, given Jimmy Kimmel's position and how he's positioned himself? The answer is yes, I understand it, because Jimmy Kimmel has positioned himself as he is anti-MAGA, anti-Trump. And despite being more of a funny guy, that's who Jimmy Kimmel is. He's kind of a comedian/talk show host. He has tried to get more serious in showing people how much he wants to bash Donald Trump. He's made a show of that. He's decided to plant his flag there. He is allowed to do that. The First Amendment protects free speech. We're going to be getting back to free speech here today. He is allowed to bash Donald Trump the same way. Moderators, I'll say again, people are allowed to bash my position and challenge me in my positions in the comments. Do not mute or block anybody for disagreement. We want the disagreement. Okay, he's allowed to trash Donald Trump. He's been doing it for 10 years. Stephen Colbert, bashing Donald Trump for who knows how long. Howard Stern, bashing Donald Trump for who knows how long. People are allowed to bash Donald Trump if they want to bash Donald Trump, even while he is the sitting president. They are allowed to do that. The first speech grants everybody the right to say what they want to say within reason. If you are not inciting or you're not assaulting or threatening, you're allowed to bash if you want to bash. You can't yell fire in a crowded theater proverbially, but you are allowed to bash if you want to bash. Jimmy Kimmel is allowed to bash Trump. He's even allowed to bash Charlie Kirk. Now, do I think it was in good taste for him to say what he said? I say no, because so many people are talking about the death of Charlie Kirk. They're trying to make it so much about who did it and who's responsible more than anybody is actually talking about a man losing his life. For which I think a lot of people on the left, especially the known people with voices, they need to be held accountable for this. They have all gotten out of hand with this over the last week. I've been saying this for the last week, is that a lot of these people have lost their minds and that they have so much Trump derangement syndrome and Charlie Kirk being close to Donald Trump, that Charlie Kirk losing his life caused people to immediately start talking about why Charlie Kirk may have caused this by the things that he said, or why It's not a thing that you need to mourn Charlie Kirk's death because he said things that you didn't like, and or well, the person who shot him was a conservatively raised white guy from Utah, then that means it's completely okay. As if that, again, completely forgetting about the point that a man lost his life. And this is where the TDS of the people on the left came out, and it makes them look crazy. I was saying this on my Instagram story yesterday. My Instagram link is in my profile. That I was pretty sure up until last week that in the 2026, when they had the midterm elections, that the Democrats will be able to take back at least one side of Congress, whether that be the House of Representatives or the Senate. After what just happened with the Charlie Kirk situation, I'm not quite so sure anymore. Democrats, this is not a good look for the Democrats. This whole situation has not been a good look for them. Why? Because it makes them look very insensitive. It makes them look very deranged when it comes to anything involving Donald Trump. And were people not watching and paying attention in 2024 when the Democratic Party and their affiliates went way overboard trying to go against Donald Trump during that 2024 campaign cycle, it ended up backfiring on them. This was not a good idea. And I think the 2026 midterms, again, I thought it was going to be Democrats would get at least one side back. But after this, I'm questioning that. Now, we still got a year to go before the midterms. Now, had this happened in 2026, then I would go on the record and say the Republicans are going to maintain both the Senate and the House. Right now, it's still a year away, so people could kind of calm down off this. But this is not a good look for the Democrats. They're not looking good right now, even though not every Democrat, of course, has said something about this. But that's how it's going to turn out. It's going to turn out, we're looking at the situation. This person on the right who was prominent loses his life. And now people on the left are talking about everything other than, damn, it's sad that that person lost his life. Oh, he said bad things. Oh, he was spewing hate. Oh, he made black people feel unsafe. Oh, he was a racist. Oh, a white person did it. So it's not that big of a deal. Like, that's crazy. Again, somebody lost their life. That's crazy. So a lot of these people on the left have lost their minds. They already have lost their minds. But what happened to Charlie Kirk last week made them expose the fact that they have lost their minds. Okay, so now that we got that on the table, let's continue. Now, the next day after Jimmy Kimmel's comment on his show, which, again, his comment was not that crazy. He said crazier stuff than that. But at the next day, remember, many affiliates of ABC, the way ABC, these networks work in the big picture is ABC broadcasts out their shows, and then the affiliates and local networks, they basically pick up those shows and they broadcast them to you locally, those of you who are TV watchers. Many affiliates who are owned by a company called Nexstar, they pulled Jimmy Kimmel's show off their stations because they claim their reason was his comments were offensive and insensitive. That's what they said. His comments were offensive and insensitive. Now, could that be true? Yes, as I said. Should he have said that when he said it? No. Was that insensitive? Probably. Was it offensive? Not really, given the current climate and given the track record of Jimmy Kimmel. Was it really that crazy what he said? Not really. But this is their reasoning. This is what they said. Any of you who works in any type of corporate space or bureaucratic space or works in the government, there's two different reasons why organizations like these big corporations do things. You have the good reason and you have the real reason. The good reason is what they announced to the public, i.e. Jimmy Kimmel's got his show. Jimmy Kimmel had his show pulled off the air because he said things that were offensive and insensitive. That's the good reason. That's the thing that you put on in the, what do they call those things? The press release, or you say it at the press conference, or this is what the boss has to announce. This is what you put on the official documentation. You said offensive and insensitive things. That's the good reason. The real reason is why it really happened, which is not what they're going to announce to the world, but is what people can speculate on. And these days, when you have people like myself and other journalists who talk about the news all day, every day, they try to dive into what's the real reason here as opposed to the good reason. Is this really the reason why Jimmy Kimmel got pulled off the air because what he said was offensive and insensitive? Hell no. That was not the reason why this happened. Again, he said crazy things before. This ain't that crazy. It wasn't good, but it ain't that crazy. On the crazy scale, this was kind of low. And this is the official reason that they have to get it. Now, what happened is that chair of the FCC, that's the Federal Communications Commission, so basically the government, this guy named Brendan Carr, here's what he did. He threatened regulatory consequences against ABC or Disney, saying that broadcasters have an obligation to certain community standards. Now, is he accurate in saying that? The answer is he's accurate in saying that broadcasters do have an obligation to community standards, that Jimmy Kimmel being that he's on ABC, him saying it, he's held to a higher standard than if he had said this on some a TikTok live stream. He wouldn't have come under as much heat had he said it on TikTok as opposed to saying it on ABC. ABC is a major network that broadcasts to every TV for free. So he's held to a different standard than, again, just a podcaster or somebody on a smaller network, even a paid network. Now, Brendan Carr allegedly threatened regulatory consequences against ABC if they didn't do something about what Jimmy Kimmel had done. Now, does the fact that Charlie Kirk was on the political right and that Brandon Carr was appointed by Donald Trump, does that have something to do with what Brandon Carr said? Of course it does. I mean, let's not act like the situation is not the situation. Carr is a Trump appointee. He's probably leans more to the right than to the left, and Charlie Kirk leans to the right, and no pun intended. And this situation, of course, Brandon Carr did this because he happens to be conservative. Does that have something to do? Yes. Elections have consequences. Isn't that what we say? Elections have consequences. So on September 17th, 2 days ago, Disney and ABC officially, and I believe it's Disney who owns ABC, so in case any of you didn't understand, they officially suspended Jimmy Kimmel Live indefinitely. So he has an indefinite suspension, which means he could be back tomorrow. Today's Friday, so he could be back on Monday, or he could be back in a month, or he can never come back. He's just indefinitely suspended. So this is just a situation that's hanging in the air, which is great for people like me and you because that leaves us room to talk about it because we have no idea when it's going to change. So it's an ongoing developing situation that leaves plenty of space for the internet to discuss. And that's what we're doing right now. Now, this decision has caused a ton of backlash. So a lot of supporters are saying that this is censorship, that it's state-sponsored censorship, that it's an attack on free speech, it's a suppression of free speech, that it's more proof that Donald Trump is destroying free speech and democracy, and he's a fascist, and y'all know all the stuff they say about Donald Trump. So this is just more ammunition, more fuel to the fire of Donald Trump being a terrible guy, and everybody who supports Donald Trump being a terrible guy. Everybody's saying that. A bunch of people claimed on X yesterday, claimed that they were canceling their subscriptions to Hulu and Disney and what's the other ones, whatever you could subscribe to. A bunch of people were claiming that they unsubscribed and they canceled their subscriptions, and people were posting screenshots, and maybe some of them did, maybe some of them didn't. Whatever. A lot of that was happening yesterday. And people are saying that political pressure from the Trump administration led to this. Is that true? Yes, that's true. Now, it doesn't mean Donald Trump made the phone call, but he has a big administration. There's a lot of people in the administration. Did they have something to do with this happening? Of course they did. The same way that Donald Trump having 4 court cases in 2024, that has something to do with the Biden administration? Of course it did. It wasn't just, no one's above the law, so it's just the legal system being a legal system. That's complete bullshit, and everybody knows it. So if you're going to say in 2024, any of you listening to this right now, be clear. If in 2024 you said Donald Trump's 4 court cases, Tish James, Alan Bragg, Fannie Willis, and Jack Smith, if you think those were just the law being the law and Donald Trump just happened to be someone who went on the wrong side of the law and that's why he got this court cases and the administration in charge, i.e. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, had nothing to do with that, then please don't tell me anything about what happened with Jimmy Kimmel this week. All right, you can't switch sides on it and say, well, that was just the law and this one has nothing to do with the administration. If we're going to be fair, we got to be fair. Did Biden Harris have something to do with what happened to Donald Trump in 2024? The answer is, of course they did. Does Donald Trump's administration have something to do with what happened to Jimmy Kimmel over the last 72 hours? Of course it does. Yes. We have a guest. Hello. Who is that? Oh, it's you. Are you going to join me? I'm recording right now. I'm not. Okay, I'll see you later. So did it have something to do with it? Of course it did. Yes, that has something to do with it. Again, elections have consequences, folks. We, the American people, whether you voted or not, whether you voted for Harris, whether you voted for Trump, we chose Donald Trump. The country chose Donald Trump. Donald Trump's administration, once it is chosen, they get to do what they want to do. Why? Because we voted for him. And this is what they decide to do, and this reason, and this is what all of us have to deal with. Good news is it creates opportunities for content for people like myself. So thank you, Donald Trump. Thank you, Joe Biden. Thank you, whoever's the administration, because we're going to use this. Now, critics are defending the suspension, critics of Kimmel. They're saying that the producers of the shows are taking responsibility for the content that their broadcasters put out, and those broadcasters have to serve community values. Because to be clear, The Trump administration didn't tell ABC that they have to suspend Jimmy Kimmel. Understand, Jimmy Kimmel was suspended by his bosses at ABC. Trump did not say cancel Jimmy Kimmel or suspend Jimmy Kimmel. The Trump administration did not say that. The FCC chair, Mr. Brendan Carr, he threatened that there could be ramifications if y'all don't do something. So they did something, but the Trump administration didn't actually do anything. So for people to say that this is censorship, I mean, again, the saying is, if you whip a dog once, you only have to show them the whip. They understand that something could happen, but the Trump administration didn't actually do anything, just to be clear. Now, some are saying that, well, actually, I already said this. Kimmel has a long history of bashing Donald Trump, mocking MAGA. He's been a consistent voice in late night pushing against conservative politics. That's not news. So Jimmy Kimmel getting this, is this somewhat a just dessert for Jimmy Kimmel? Yes. You are a late night talk show TV host. You've been bashing Donald Trump for years. And now, somehow, some way, directly or indirectly, Donald Trump's administration now has gotten some revenge on you by getting you suspended. Is this fair game? Give me a yes or no in the comments. Is this fair game? Whether you're a Donald Trump fan or not. Is this fair game? You've been bashing a guy for a long time. Now this guy's in power. And now this guy is somewhat directly or indirectly taking credit for you being in a bad spot now. I say this is fair game, folks. This is how it works. And this is how it works in America, in case any of you didn't know. This is how it works in power dynamics, is that Trump has the power right now. And y'all saw what happened to Howard Stern. You saw what happened to Stephen Colbert. And you see it happening to Jimmy Kimmel. This is the game. All right, if you can't get in a boxing ring and hit somebody a couple times, and then when they hit you back, now you're crying bloody murder. All right, you got in a boxing ring. When you get in a boxing ring, you might get punched in the face. This is the way it works. Jimmy Kimmel just got punched in the face. Now, again, that doesn't mean Jimmy Kimmel can't throw a left hook back in return, but he just got hit in the face. Stephen Colbert got hit in the face. Howard Stern got hit in the face. A bunch of people are going to get hit in the face. They've been hitting this guy. So you can't throw punches for years, and then when you finally get hit back, all of a sudden there's some type of injustice. But let's get into the details of this. Let me introduce myself first. For those who don't know me, my name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day. I'm a former 9-year pro athlete, author of a few books, done a few TED Talks. I run this company called Work on Your Game Incorporated, and people are always asking me what I do. First of all, I am not a lawyer. I only play one on TikTok. I'm not a lawyer. What I teach, very simply, is I teach people presence. I teach people command of the room. I talk to top 2% performers, and we teach presence, discipline, and execution. That means you walking into a room and people respecting you before you say a word, and remembering you when you're gone, even if they never actually talk to you, don't even know your name. That's what presence means. You want to learn more about being that type of person, go to the link in my profile, or you can send a text to my number where you can join my text community for free. My number is 305-384-6894. That number is in the pinned comment or in my profile, whichever app you're watching me on. By the way, I am live on 7 different platforms right now, most prominently TikTok. I have most people on TikTok, but I'm also on Instagram, YouTube, Rumble, X, Facebook, and LinkedIn. My replays are always on YouTube. Moderators who are in here, again, do not silence dissent. We want the dissent. We want the disagreement, because that'll allow me to use my soundboard where y'all can hear some of your favorite sounds, like strawberry cheesecake, or
have some more chicken, have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.
Or
emotional, damn it.
Or
you're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
So we'll get to those later. But first, let's get into the materials. I don't want to go too far over time here today. We want to be done by 10 o'clock. We're already at 8:40. So Donald Trump was asked about this. And again, Donald Trump is the president. People blame him for everything, but he's not really he don't have to call these shots. This is why you build a team, so that they can make decisions independently. They don't have to go through you for everything. Donald Trump was asked about this, and of course, he's not the one who made the call. But one of the things that he said, and you know Donald Trump's style of talking, he said, well, Jimmy Kimmel, his ratings are down. His ratings are terrible. He's not very good. He got canceled for a lack of talent. That's what Donald Trump said. Jimmy Kimmel got canceled because he has no talent. And finally, the world caught up to the fact that Jimmy Kimmel is a talentless. I'm adding this part in. The Jimmy Kimmel is just talentless, and that's why he finally got canceled. So that's kind of an LOL type of thing. But in reality, Jimmy Kimmel's ratings are down 75%. That is not a joke. That didn't come from Donald Trump. That's his actual data. Jimmy Kimmel's TV show ratings are down 75%. Now, does that mean that Jimmy Kimmel is really bad or terrible at what he does? Not necessarily. Why? Number one, there's a whole lot of cord cutting these days. A lot of people like myself do not even own a television. So even if I do consume Jimmy Kimmel, I might consume him through YouTube or watching clips of him coming up on social media. I don't actually watch his show. So my viewing of Jimmy Kimmel, I don't watch Jimmy Kimmel, but if I did, my viewing might come through some platform that does not count in TV ratings. So your ratings can be down, but you can still be very popular. So his ratings are down, though. And because he's with ABC, ABC makes their money based on those ratings. And if your ratings are down, then it could logically make sense that, hey, we got to drop this guy. Now, Stephen Colbert, for example, his show was dropping in ratings as well. And Stephen Colbert's show was costing a whole lot of money. And not only the salary of Stephen Colbert, but also the salary of all the producers on his platform. So it is something to be considered. Now, the government, as I already explained, did nothing. The SEC chair told ABC, take responsibility for your worker, Jimmy Kimmel, and he is a worker working on ABC, saying what he said. Now, there was a company called Nexstar. I mentioned them already. They are the ones who are about to they're trying to get a merger done. And when you're trying to get a merger done, that merger has to be approved by the government. And the government right now is run by the Trump administration. So some people are saying, and this one I would say is generally true, this Nexstar company that had the power to pull Jimmy Kimmel's show, since they're trying to get this merger done with the government, the last thing they want is to be on the wrong side of the government's good graces. So they pulled Jimmy Kimmel to appease the government so that the government might, scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, quid pro quo. Y'all did what we wanted you to do by pulling Jimmy Kimmel, so we will let you complete your merger, because the government could block or stop their merger. They want to do this merger because there's a lot of money that could be made. So some are pointing to that. Here's the challenge with that. The counterpoint to that is that there's another platform called Sinclair. They have a bunch of affiliates as well. They pulled the Jimmy Kimmel show, and Sinclair is not trying to do a merger. So why did Sinclair pull Jimmy Kimmel if they have no need to appease the government, but Nexstar did? That's just a mitigating point when it comes to, the government just forced this whole thing. Again, Sinclair pulled Jimmy Kimmel, and they have no need to be on a good side of the government, at least for now, because nothing the government can really do to them. Now, going to Jimmy Kimmel's actual comments, let's get into that in detail. We're going to come back to this other stuff that I've talked about. Jimmy Kimmel's comment was, first of all, inaccurate. And this is the reason why the good reason could be a legitimate good reason. What he said was, one of their own shot Charlie Kirk, paraphrasing. And that's not true. The only way that the alleged shooter, as of now, Mr. Tyler James Robinson, only way he's quote unquote one of their own when it comes to MAGA, and Charlie Kirk was MAGA, was just because he is white and because his family is conservative. Other than that, what else does he have in common? Nothing else. Jimmy Kimmel's white. I guess Jimmy Kimmel's not a conservative. I think it's fair enough to say that. But what makes him one of their own? Just the fact that he was white and he was raised conservative. But that kid, it's come out and is pretty well understood and accepted now. That kid was left. He was leaning hard to the left. Looks like he was gay. He was in a relationship with his roommate, who was a boy transitioning into being a girl, which is not even a real thing, but y'all get what I'm saying. And he wanted to get rid of Charlie Kirk because he thought Charlie Kirk was a fascist and he was hateful and he was too negative against the LGBTQ community. That's the reason why, according to what we've heard so far, the alleged shooter allegedly did what he did. Again, everything is allegedly now until it's proven in court. So to say that this guy was one of their own is just factually inaccurate. This Jimmy Kimmel was just wrong. Shooter was on the left and didn't even like Charlie Kirk. Now, Bill Simmons. Y'all know Bill Simmons? Bill Simmons is a sports guy. He literally used to call himself the sports guy. I don't know if he calls himself that anymore. He is my favorite sports writer of all time. He doesn't write anymore. Most sports writers who I've known don't do any writing anymore. Mostly they are podcasting and YouTubing. Bill is a better writer than he is a podcaster, but his podcast is still pretty good. I heard him talk about this. He talked about the Jimmy Kimmel situation for about 15 minutes on his latest episode of his show. Now, the reason why Bill Simmons has something to say about Jimmy Kimmel, because he's friends with Jimmy Kimmel and he used to work for Jimmy Kimmel. So he used to be a worker on Jimmy Kimmel's show. I don't know exactly what he was doing. Maybe he was a writer for Kimmel's show like way back in the day. Kimmel's been out for like 20 plus years. And Bill Simmons actually made a very good point. And his point was, why does Jimmy Kimmel even need to be on ABC? And that's a very good question. And Jimmy Kimmel should consider what Bill Simmons said. And maybe he was already considering that, but he had the ABC gravy train going, so why get off it? But now with this suspension, And there's a ton of backlash coming from people on the left who support Jimmy and hate Donald Trump. They're allegedly canceling their subscriptions, et cetera, and showing support for Jimmy Kimmel. So next time Jimmy Kimmel appears anywhere, he's going to get a standing ovation and people are going to be crying for him. Same way Stephen Colbert, he got the same thing. At the, what was the awards he was at the other day, where he came out and everybody gave him a standing ovation because his show got canceled because he's been bashing Trump. So they liked that. I guess it was the Emmy Awards, whatever show that was. Jimmy Kimmel's going to get the same type of response next time he appears publicly because there's a bunch of people who don't like Trump and they like the fact that Jimmy Kimmel was a mouthpiece for those feelings. Why is Jimmy Kimmel even working at ABC anymore? Again, and I want all of you to understand, those of you who are not familiar with me and you don't know my work, even those of you who are, I'm not on any side politically. I am not on the right. I'm not on the left. I am not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I am not MAGA. I'm not anti-MAGA. I am not pro-Trump. I'm not anti-Trump. I'm just logically and objectively trying to look at the situation as it is. What I am is an entrepreneur. And looking at this Jimmy Kimmel situation, if I was talking to Jimmy Kimmel, I would reiterate to him what Bill Simmons said. Why are you even still trying to work at ABC? After this, what Jimmy Kimmel needs to do is go to ABC, and he could even do this publicly if he wants to make this a big thing, and say, reinstate my show. Y'all need to have some balls. Don't let the Trump administration tell y'all what to do. And if you won't reinstate my show immediately, I'm quitting ABC and I'm taking my platform independent and I'll do it myself. He's going to have a plenty of audience because all the people who don't like Trump and like the fact that Jimmy's been bashing Trump, they will go with him to wherever he goes. And again, I'm not a Jimmy Kimmel fan. I'm not a viewer of the Jimmy Kimmel show, but it looks like this guy has fans. Like, can we agree that Jimmy Kimmel has fans? He has fans. And again, even if you're a hardcore Trump supporter, if you're a hardcore MAGA listening to this right now, we can't pretend as if somebody who bashes Trump does not have fans. A lot of people don't like Trump. And those people, especially if they're public with it, they got fans because a lot of people don't want to say it out loud, but they appreciate somebody else saying it. Jimmy Kimmel needs to go independent. That's what he needs to do. Because the platform is not ABC anymore. And we've seen this with a lot of individuals. Megyn Kelly was on, what was she on, Fox? Megyn Kelly was on Fox. She was on NBC for a minute, got off both platforms, and now she has her own platform, and she is pretty big right now. She's bigger than a lot of shows that are on CNN, and she's independent. Candace Owens. She was on the Daily Wire. Big platform. Got fired from the Daily Wire. Has her own platform now, and she is bigger now by herself than she was with the Daily Wire. Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan was basically, he was just doing his stuff on YouTube. He wasn't really on a platform. He was on TV. He was on Fear Factor, and he does the MMA stuff, UFC stuff. But Joe Rogan is his own platform. He has a licensing deal with Spotify, but Spotify does not own Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan owns Joe Rogan, and he licenses his show to Spotify. He is the platform. So if he goes to Spotify and says, I want to get out of this deal, Spotify is going to try to appease him because they need Joe Rogan more than Joe Rogan needs Spotify. They benefit each other, but he does not need them as much as they need him. And Jimmy Kimmel right now, even though his ratings are down, he still has an audience. What he needs to do is go independent. If ABC does not do whatever he wants them to do, they're probably having conversations right now about what's happening and what's going to happen. But there's no reason for Jimmy Kimmel to sit around and wait for ABC to let him do his show. And again, I say this as a person who doesn't even watch the show. I'm just saying this as an entrepreneur looking at the business landscape. Why are you even trying to work for them? There's no need for somebody with a platform these days, like Jimmy Kimmel, like Candace Owens, like Megyn Kelly, like Joe Rogan, like many other folks. Why are you trying to work for somebody else's platform? Just have your own stuff and let them pay you for the privilege of putting your stuff on their platforms. That's what you should do. That's what Megyn Kelly goes through Sirius XM. Joe Rogan goes through Spotify. Candace she goes through Spotify, but I don't know if she has any type of licensing deal with them. But why do this? That's what Jimmy Kimmel should do, just as a business person. Now, off of that, and let's get back to this whole cancellation situation. I remember Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson got fired from, what network was he on? Was he on Fox? Is that where Tucker Carlson's show got canceled from? Was Tucker on Fox? And he's another example. But somebody co-sign or tell me what platform was Tucker Carlson on when he got canceled. Yeah, so Tucker Carlson was on Fox. He got canceled. When Tucker Carlson got canceled from Fox, let me find this clip because this will perfectly explain this because somebody who we all know has something to say about this, and I'm going to find this clip. So here it is. This is a woman that we all know. Everybody recognize this woman right here? Everybody know who this is? Okay, for those of you who don't know, this is Congressperson, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Now, when Tucker Carlson got canceled, here's what she had to say.
Largest driving some of the most is out at Fox News. Tucker Carlson is out at Fox News. Couldn't have happened to a better guy. What I will say, though, is while I'm very glad that the person that was arguably responsible for some of the largest, driving some of the most amounts of death threats and violent threats, not just to my office, but to plenty of people across the country, I also kind of feel like I'm like waiting for the cutscene at the end of a Marvel movie after all the credits have rolled, and then you see like the villain's like hand reemerge out to grip over like the end of a building or something. But deplatforming works, and it is important. And there you go. Good things can happen. You shouldn't.
Everybody heard that? Deplatforming works, and it's a good thing. That's what AOC said. That's what AOC said when Tucker Carlson got canceled. Okay. Now, Jimmy Kimmel's getting canceled. Maybe. He might not be completely canceled, but Jimmy Kimmel might get kicked off his platform. Okay. If that's the game we're playing, then this is the game we're playing. Again, the game is the game. The game can't be one way when it's working in your favor, but it's another way when it's working against you. All right. That's what she said when Tucker Carlson got canceled. So now that it's happened to Jimmy Kimmel, this is fair game, folks. I just gave you an example. And Tucker Carlson is, I don't know, is Tucker Carlson bigger than Jimmy Kimmel? Actually, I think he is. And Tucker Carlson is another example. He went independent, and I think he's doing pretty well ever since he got kicked off the platform. He is the platform. These days, the person is the platform. It's not the platform, and then the people try to get on the platform. These days, the individual is the platform. All these people whose names I mentioned, they are the platform. It's not the platform gives you an opportunity. You are giving the platform an opportunity. And that's why Jimmy Kimmel should go independent. Now, many people on the left like this concept of deplatforming. When Donald Trump, January 2021, lest we forget, after January 6th, what happened to Donald Trump within 48 hours? Everybody remember what happened to Donald Trump? Within 48 hours of January 6, 2021, what happened to Donald Trump? When we're talking platforms, the topic is platforms. He got kicked off every platform. He got kicked off Twitter. At the time, it was Twitter. He got kicked off YouTube if he had a YouTube. He got kicked off Facebook. He got kicked off Instagram. He got banned from every social media platform all at the same damn time within 48 hours of January 6, 2021. And a bunch of people on the left who didn't like Donald Trump, who were happy that Joe Biden allegedly had won the 2020 election, they were completely okay co-signing that cancellation and that deplatforming, literal deplatforming of Donald Trump. Everybody was okay with it then. Now somebody else is getting deplatformed. Now, some people may say, well, that was different because Trump did this, whatever you want to say. The argument was about, is it okay to deplatform someone if you feel like they did something wrong? The argument was yes. The answer to that was yes, it's okay to deplatform him because he did something wrong. Jimmy Kimmel allegedly did something wrong here, and he's talking about the death of somebody. Jimmy Kimmel's talking about Charlie Kirk dying. Donald Trump didn't, nothing Donald Trump did or said on January 6, 2021 led to anybody dying. Nobody died on January 6, 2021 from the opposing side from Donald Trump. Only person died was a woman named Ashley Babbitt, who stupidly tried to jump through a window. That was dumb of her. She got shot. She shouldn't have got shot, but she's the only person who died that day. None of the security, none of the cops died that day. So if we want to talk about levels, there's a strong argument that what Jimmy Kimmel did was more insensitive than anything Donald Trump did. And he got canceled. So why is it not okay for Jimmy Kimmel to get canceled? So if wrong ideas get you canceled, if this is what we're doing, that's what we're doing. Now, personally, I'm not a fan of cancel culture. I'm not a fan of canceling anybody. This is why I made the announcement right here today and every day. Moderators, don't cancel anybody out of the chat, even if they disagree with me. Let them talk. We want the disagreement. Why? Because when people disagree with you, first of all, you got to stand on your argument. You got to defend your position. And hey, they might be right. You got to be willing to stand on what you say. But I don't like the concept of canceling somebody just because you don't like what they had to say. Donald Trump should not have been canceled in 2021 after January 6th. He should not have been canceled. They should have let him keep saying what he wanted to say on his social media platforms. Why? Because the American citizenry, roughly half of it, said, we think Donald Trump won. And the other half was saying Donald Trump lost. That conversation should be allowed to take place. Don't cancel him. Let him talk. If that's what he thinks happened. He was the president. At that time, he was actually still the president. How are you going to cancel the president off social media? Because he's talking about something that's happening in the government. That doesn't even make sense. But that's exactly what they did. So now Jimmy Kimmel can't be canceled. Who is Jimmy Kimmel? They canceled the president off social media all at the same time after January 6, 2021. But now some late night talk show host can't get canceled. This is a step. This is a bridge too far canceling Jimmy Kimmel, but it was okay to cancel Donald Trump. That doesn't make any sense. If you really think about that, if you really put that into context. Now, the pro speech side says Kimmel's monologue is part of his job, which it is. As a comedian and a commentator, he's decided to become a political commentator. I guess we can call him that now. Now, he's calling out what he saw, Jimmy Kimmel. He saw it as hypocrisy, even though he was he was factually inaccurate. And he was politicizing the tragedy, which he is allowed to do if he wants to. I don't think it's in great taste, but that's what he wanted to do. Comedians have historically pushed boundaries and provoked backlash, so satire and criticism are part of the free speech tradition. I would say this is true. I would have to agree with this. That Jimmy Kimmel is a funny guy. I don't know. Is he just a straight up comedian? Was he ever like a stand up guy? I don't know, but he does do comedy. We can agree these late night talk show hosts, Leno, Letterman, Conan, Seth Meyers, these other guys, Jimmy Kimmel, Arsenio Hall, even back in the day. This is what they do. They come on, they give a little monologue that's comedy, and then they have guests on, they do a talk show. That's what they do. What's that guy's name that always has the actresses on and he's like flirting with the actresses? What's that guy's name? With the later, his show is like later at night. I don't know if he's American. Maybe he's from England or something. What's that guy's name? I don't watch any of this stuff, but I see his clips every now and then. Anybody know who I'm talking about? The guy who he always has actresses on, and then he'll be like flirting with them. It's a talk show similar to Kimmel. No, what is the guy? Craig Ferguson. Yeah, Craig Ferguson. So people like them. That's what they do. So they get on, they get a little monologue, and then they have guests on the show and they talk. Jimmy Kimmel does do his funny thing, and he's allowed to do that. And I got to be fair for Jimmy Kimmel, because Dave Chappelle, a few years ago, I don't remember what year this was, he came out with a couple of stand-up specials that he did on Netflix. And there was one in particular called Sticks and Stones. Did y'all see the Dave Chappelle Sticks and Stones comedy special? On that comedy special, Dave Chappelle went hard. I think about 60% of the special was making fun of the LGBTQ train. He made fun of it from every angle you could make fun of it. And a lot of people got mad at him for that. He made a joke about domestic violence. He made a joke about that when it came to Chris Brown and Rihanna. And I think that was in the same special. And a lot of people really got really serious and got their pants in a bunch over what Dave Chappelle said in that special. I defended Dave Chappelle at that time. I would still defend him to this very day. Why? Because Dave Chappelle's a comedian. The job of a comedian is to take things that people take seriously and make fun of them. That's the job of a comedian. That's the reason why comedy exists. They take the stuff that we think is real serious, and then they make jokes about it, and we laugh because it allows us to release the tension. That's what a comedian does. Now, Dave Chappelle is a different type of comedian than Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel also, here's the counterpoint to that, counterpointing my own point. Jimmy Kimmel is a funny guy, and he makes funny jokes, but the Charlie Kirk situation was not that. It wasn't that type of situation. And at the time that he said it, people weren't ready to joke about it, and he didn't make a joke. That's the problem, Jimmy Kimmel, if you're listening. The problem Jimmy Kimmel has is that he didn't make a joke. He was trying to talk seriously. And this is what happens when funny guys try to cross over into being serious. Now you're confusing the audience. Okay, are you being serious now? Are you telling a joke? What are you doing? And this is one of the reasons why his ratings are down, because first of all, he alienated half the country by bashing Trump for the last 10 years. So his audience is limited to, at the maximum, only half the country. And secondly, because you're not doing what we came to see. We came to see you be funny and then have lighthearted conversations with these celebrity guests. That's what we want. When I turn on Jimmy Kimmel or Jay Leno or Craig Ferguson or any one of these mofos, that's what I want. Tell us a couple jokes and then have lighthearted, funny conversations with somebody famous. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what the shows are. They all do the same thing. Now you're trying to be serious. Now you want to lecture us about rights and about gun violence and the left and the right and Donald Trump and MAGA, and now you want to be taken seriously. You are not giving us what you promised. You sold me one thing, you gave me something else. Don't do that. Don't sell me Sprite, then give me Pepsi. All right, don't do that. This is the mistake Jimmy Kimmel has made. And because he has done that, he wants to be taken seriously, we can't judge him on the same curve by which I would judge Dave Chappelle. I said, even if you're LGBTQ and you thought the jokes that he made about the LGBTQ maybe exposed you or caused people to laugh at you and your team, so what? That's what comedy's supposed to do. Comedy's supposed to be people making jokes about your group, and you got to be able to laugh at yourself. And even if you don't think the joke was funny, you can't get offended by a joke. All right, if I'm black and Chris Rock does a skit talking about black people and it's funny, I got to laugh and say, damn, there's a whole lot of truth in that. That's funny. Right, if somebody makes a joke about me, you got to be able to take a joke. I mean, not every joke, but you got to be able to take one. Jimmy Kimmel wasn't telling a joke. You want to be serious and you're factually inaccurate, then you get held accountable for that. All right, you stepped into a lane that you want to be in this lane. Okay, here's how it goes. Now, the argument is comedians push boundaries and provoke backlash. Well, again, this wasn't comedy, so this point actually fails. Now, the counterpoint to that is many think that Jimmy Kimmel was trying to generalize MAGA as a whole and accusing them of exploiting Charlie Kirk's death before they had all the facts. Is this true? Yes. Is that what Jimmy Kimmel did? Yes, that's what he did. He has been doing this for 10 years. He takes the entire MAGA concept, however he sees it, obviously negatively. He frames it in a negative way, and then he attacks it. And then he takes anything that happens around the MAGA movement and he labels anyone who is in support of the MAGA movement that way, which is a bad idea when you have such a large platform because you are alienating potentially half of your audience. That's a bad idea. This is a bad business move to alienate half of your audience. I don't think that's a smart thing for Jimmy Kimmel to do, but this is what he decided to do. All right, this is how he decided to play it. And this can work. Again, half the country is still a whole lot of people. But why alienate half your audience this way? What he should do, all of them, Colbert, Howard Stern as well. I would have told all of them the same thing before they all lost their minds, which is, yes, make jokes about MAGA, make jokes about Donald Trump. Fine, do that. But Joe Biden was president for 4 years. You ain't had no jokes? Kamala Harris ran for president for 107 days. You didn't have any jokes, but you only got jokes for Donald Trump. That's the bad taste. That's the mistake that they made. Because again, are you a political commentator? You want to work at CNN or you want to be funny? Because if you're being funny, you got to be funny about everybody. That's the problem. Even Dave Chappelle tends to lean a little bit in one direction. He doesn't get into it too much because he's smart enough to not do this. But this is the problem. Stern, Colbert, Jimmy Kimmel, and whomever else is that why are all your jokes only going in one direction? Are you a comedian or are you not? Because if you're a comedian, you're telling me 4 years of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, you couldn't find anything funny? Nothing? No jokes? None? For 4 years? Now you're trying to be taken seriously. But you sold me comedy. So what are we doing here? This is a bad business decision by all of these gentlemen. So people viewed his comments as premature, emotionally loaded, and harmful. I don't like the harmful label, but emotionally loaded, of course they were. Doesn't Jimmy Kimmel come on TV crying? Somebody tell me, I think I've seen Jimmy Kimmel on TV crying. Now, I don't watch TV, but I've seen clips. Maybe it wasn't Jimmy Kimmel, but somebody, coach, give me a yes or a no. Do I have that right? Was Jimmy Kimmel on TV crying anytime in the last 10 years about something that had to do with politics? Or was it somebody else? I thought I saw Jimmy Kimmel on TV crying. Yes, that was. What was he crying about? So I said, Courtney said he cries all the time. Colbert be crying too? I didn't know Colbert was on TV crying. So, yeah, he was on. So people be on TV. You can't get on TV crying over something on the right. And then you don't want to make any. So emotionally loaded. Yes, I'm bringing that up because Jimmy Kimmel does get emotional about these things. And he gets emotional bashing and then emotional crying when he's on the other side. Again, what are we doing here? Is this CNN or is this supposed to be funny? I'm supposed to be watching something funny before I go to sleep. Now, supporters of ABC. Actually, let me back up. When victims are involved, that's Charlie Kirk in this situation, public figures should balance critique with sensitivity. And he had to speak on this because he's positioned himself this way. This is the strategic mistake Jimmy Kimmel made, is that he's positioned himself as, I'm going to comment on things happening politically. And again, you can make jokes about things happening politically, but if you decide you're going to comment and give serious comments, now you turn yourself into a half news show, half comedy show. And now all your news/comedy is going in one direction. Okay, now you're CNN just with guests, celebrity guests. This is a mistake because you want to be CNN, go get a job at CNN. You want to be funny, be funny. And funny is, again, how did we have 4 years of Joe Biden and you couldn't come up with any jokes? I don't understand that. Somebody has to explain that to me. how Joe Biden was president for 4 years and Kamala Harris was the vice president, and he couldn't come up with any jokes, but he has all these jokes for Donald Trump. Just doesn't add up. Now, supporters of the ABC suspension argue that broadcasters and station owners must uphold standards, which they must. And if you inflame political division with your commentary and you vilify entire groups, that can be incendiary, and especially when you do it at the wrong time. This is true. Because somebody just died. Now, if he came out with a joke about MAGA just on a regular Tuesday, nobody would care. But you came out with this joke right after somebody passed away, a prominent figure, and you're trying to point fingers instead of just saying, hey, it's messed up that somebody passed. What he should have said, here's what Jimmy Kimmel should have said. I'm paraphrasing. He has speech writers who can write better stuff than what I'm coming up with off the top right here. He should have said, hey, all of you know I'm not a fan of MAGA and I'm not a fan of Donald Trump. Everybody knows that. I've been bashing them for the last 10 years right here on this show. However, somebody lost their life the other day. And as much as I don't like MAGA and most of the people who support them, and Charlie Kirk was a prominent supporter of MAGA, at some point we got to put the jokes aside, and we do have to realize that that's a person who lost their life. That's a man with a wife and a man with kids. Even though I'm not a fan of MAGA, I'm not going to sit here and try to make jokes or try to point fingers when somebody has lost their life. Let's remember that we're all human here, and then we'll get back to the show. If he would have said that, I believe the audience would have respected it. But see, he didn't do that. He decides he wants to triple down. This is a mistake by Jimmy Kimmel. He shouldn't have did this. He shouldn't have made that comment. He could have continued saying whatever else he was going to say, but that comment he should not have made. And local stations said that Kimmel's remarks did not reflect the values of their audiences. And again, this is the reason why it was a bad idea, because half the country is conservative. So why would you go and throw this out there on a national platform like he has? Again, if he had his own independent platform, maybe a different story. But nationally, not a good idea. Now, opponents say that pulling the show is censorship, especially when regulatory threats from the FCC are involved, and it blurs the line between government oversight and political retribution. I say yes, and that's my answer to that. Yes, comma, and question mark. Again, were all of you alive in 2024? Was everybody alive in 2024? Did you not see Donald Trump, the Tish James case? She's talking about taking his whole building and trying to get a $400 million judgment against the man. Did you not see the Alvin Bragg case, the 34 felonies? Did you not see the E. Jean Carroll case and this defamation that he has to pay to a woman that he may not have ever even met, and she couldn't even name what year or place this assault allegedly even happened? Did you not see the Fannie Willis case? They're trying to get a RICO charge on him over the find me 10,000 votes. And again, there's many different ways you can interpret the saying there. They're trying to get a RICO case on that, which has completely fallen apart. The woman Fannie Willis got thrown off the case, by the way, the other day. That case is pretty much dead. And the Jack Smith case, the documents in the bathroom case. Was everybody alive in 2024? And now that people want to talk about political retribution, really? Now it's political retribution, really? After 2024, this is political retribution. Do y'all not remember how the state of Colorado, I believe, they were the ones who started it. They were going to try to get Trump removed from the ballot so that he couldn't even be voted for in the state of Colorado. Do y'all remember that? Or is my memory, am I just making things up? Is that a figment of my imagination? Did that happen? Give me a yes or no if that happened. Those of you who remember. Did that happen in 2024? Oh, now it's political retribution. Are you joking? So with the FCC involved, they say that blurs the line between government oversight and political retribution. That President Joe Biden, could have made one phone call each to Jack Smith, Fannie Willis, Tish James, Alvin Bragg. All those cases would have been over before they even started. He didn't do that. And now it's political retribution. Now that Jimmy Kimmel, late night talk show host, now this is the hill that people on the left want to die on. I say miss me with this nonsense. After what Donald Trump got put through last year, now they want to get high and mighty and righteous over Jimmy Kimmel, over something that Jimmy Kimmel said? No. Is the FCC involved? Yes, the FCC is involved. Regulatory threats are involved. And again, this kind of stuff happens on both sides of the aisle. It's just when Donald Trump's administration does it, it's a news item. When Joe Biden's administration does it or did it, nobody talks about it. It just doesn't come on TV. It doesn't come on the news. It doesn't trend on social media because people don't make that much noise about it. It's not that it didn't happen. It's just people aren't making as much noise about it. That's the only difference. Now, critics see the involvement of the FCC and pressure on licensees as a dangerous precedent. I say, fair enough. It is fair enough to say that. However, again, this is just the one that you know about. When it happens other times, nobody talks about it. This is just the one that has become news. And that's what all of you need to be careful of, is that the media can decide what to make a news item out of and what not to make a news item out of. And the left tends to put more resources into this than the right does. This is the reason why I was saying yesterday why Charlie Kirk was so valuable to the MAGA movement, because Charlie Kirk was doing for the right what the left has been doing with hundreds of influencers for years. Charlie Kirk was doing it himself individually in ways that the right really wasn't doing effectively. And he was starting to beat the left at their own game. And the left has hundreds and thousands of these influencers who they pay to put this stuff out. I follow a bunch of these people on X. I'm not on the left or the right, but I follow a bunch of people on the right. I follow a bunch of people on the left. And a bunch of these people are paid influencers on the left who, anytime something comes out, they have their coordinated talking points. They're not all saying the exact same thing, but they're all going in the same direction. They say it in their own words, and they're very good at coordinating the messaging. And they start dominating the conversation on X over the news item of the day. And there's a bunch of them talking about this Jimmy Kimmel thing, dominating the conversation. Let's see. We're going to look it up right now, just so y'all, I'll give you some. Let me see if I can find some examples, because Jimmy Kimmel is still trending right now on X. So ABC suspends Jimmy Kimmel indefinitely after Charlie Kirk remarks. So this is the trending topic, top trending topic I see on X right now. So Stephen Colbert came out with a monologue talking about it. I'm not reading that. Barack Obama then jumped into the conversation. He's had a few things to say. Gavin Newsom's jumped in the conversation. He's had a whole lot to say about it. Tim Pool said Jimmy Kimmel was only getting 129,000 viewers, so he wasn't getting as much views as others. But all these people who got canceled, I've seen a few of you mention a couple names. Here are all the people who got canceled by the left in the last, let's say, 10 years for saying something that people didn't like. Roseanne Barr, Dave Chappelle, Kill Tony, don't know who that is, Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Shane Gillis, Gina Carano, Hulk Hogan, Russell Brand, Tim Allen, J.K. Rowling, Kid Rock, and a whole bunch of other people. And then Donald Trump, then Charlie Kirk. Both of them had bullets fired at their heads. And now they want to get high and mighty over Jimmy Kimmel? Really? I say, I can't get too excited about that. And I'm trying to find some others. It was more hot yesterday than it was today. But the Democratic Party does a great job paying a whole bunch of people. And let's look at, I'm going to just read off a couple of tweets that I'm seeing here. These are people I don't even know. So this guy named David Pakman. He has a, I guess, David Pakman show on YouTube. I never heard of this guy. Here's Mr. Pakman, David Pakman. He said, he has 265,000 followers. He says, time to acknowledge that cancel culture is primarily a right-wing thing. David, really? Really, David? Cut it out. Any of you know David, tell him I said cut it out. Really? Cancel culture is a right-wing thing? No, sir. Let's continue. Let's see who else we can find who has something to say about this. Let's see. No, not that. Harry Sisson. Y'all know Harry Sisson? Harry says, Harry has 327,000 followers. A 22-year-old Democrat, according to his Bible. His bio, excuse me. Harry says, Gavin Newsom just demanded that Fox News cancel Greg Gutfeld. America's government laying down the law and pissing off MAGA. Get to it, Fox. This is what Harry Sisson said. I don't know what he's referring to, but okay. And here is Olivia Giuliana. This is the woman responsible for bringing men back to the Democratic Party. That's not a joke. This woman is responsible for bringing men back to the Democratic Party. Olivia says she has 322,000 followers. She said, yes, I pre-ordered Kamala's book. All right, this is a coordinated talking point. Okay. Fair enough. Enjoy. Let's see. Machine Pun Kelly. He has 75,000 followers. Machine Pun Kelly. He said, ABC did not fire Jimmy Kimmel. Donald Trump did. And he's saying that as a way of bashing Trump. But it actually kind of makes Trump look good, even though Trump didn't do it. But okay. Let me see if I can find one more. It was a lot more on this yesterday than it was today. But let's see. See if I can find one more No, not that one. No, not that one. Jasmine Crockett's been going crazy on Capitol Hill. But we won't get to that one. Let's see. Let's see what JoJo from Jers has to say. She's good for some incendiary commentary always. Let's see what she had to say about Jimmy Kimmel. She tweets a lot. So actually, she tweets too much. I don't know if I'm going to find anything. She said, all right, should I read this one? This one's kind of long. Should I read this one right here? JoJo from Jers had to say. She has 1 million followers on X. Yeah, let's read what JoJo from Jers had to say. She's actually pretty incendiary. She said, she got a picture of Jimmy Kimmel here. So this is what she has with her post. And she says, they want to decide what books you can read, what history your children can learn, what medicines you're allowed to take, what surgeries you can have, what gender you're permitted to be, what sports you can play, what bathroom you can use, who you can love, and who you can marry. Period. That's one sentence. They want you to own. They want to own your library, your classroom, your hospital room, your bedroom, and now your television. Period. They want to own the page, the pill, the joke, the chant, the kiss, the very pronoun in your mouth. Pause. Period. And then when breathtaking cynicism, they'll look straight at you and say, it's the Democrats who are coming for your freedom. Small government, my fucking ass. That's what this, I'm reading JoJo from Jers here. This isn't small government. This is government in your bloodstream, in your dictionary, in your bed, and now in your damn remote control. That's JoJo from Jers. That was her 2 cents to add into the situation 23 hours ago. I'm sharing all that to say that cancel culture came from the right is ridiculous. Let's see, what is cancel culture? Cancel culture is a group of people with a voice and a megaphone saying, you are saying something that makes me so uncomfortable that I want to block your ability to say it. You're telling me that started on the political right? How many of you agree that cancel culture started on the right? Put no if you believe it started on the left. Put yes if you think it started on the right. I am 100% sure cancel culture started on the left. Cancel culture came from the left. Why? Because on the political left, there are many more people who have beliefs and ideas that they cannot handle being verbally challenged to the point that they want to block you and stop you from saying it so they don't even have to hear it, let alone are they willing to engage with it. We know it came from the left. What are some examples of this? Charlie Kirk was just speaking out of college. That's where he got shot, speaking out of college. How many times in the last 10 years, ladies and gentlemen, have you heard of a speaker coming to a college who leaned to the left, liberal, who got shouted down, boycotted, protested, blocked, harassed, threatened from being able to speak at the college from the left? How many have you heard of? Give me a number. How many speakers have you heard of who were on the left, who were going to speak at a college, and they got harassed, blocked, threatened, attacked, spit at, shot at, anything, to the point that they weren't able to give their speech in the last 10 to 15 years? How many? Can you name even one person? I can't even name one. Now, how many on the right have had that happen to them? A whole bunch of people. There's this guy, Alex Stein, who's like kind of a funny guy. He had it happen. Ben Shapiro had it happen. Candace Owens had it happen. Riley Gaines had it happen. Charlie Kirk just had it happen. A bunch of people on the right can't even go to certain colleges and speak because there will be so much pre-backlash. Before they even talk, they get a whole bunch of backlash, a whole bunch of attack. People will buy up all the tickets so people can't actually come hear them speak. People will protest so they can't actually talk. People phone in bomb threats and death threats to where the school gets scared to even have the event. That only happens to people on the right. And you're telling me cancel culture came from the right? That's ridiculous. What are some things that people on the right believe that they can't stand somebody pushing back against? Name them. What are they? If cancel culture started on the right, that means there are certain things that people on the right, because that's what cancel culture is people who can't stand having certain beliefs and ideas challenged. What belief or idea do people on the right have that they cannot stand somebody pushing back against? What is it? The only one I can spot people is that there are some people on the right who don't want to hear anybody challenge or attack Donald Trump. But again, there's a whole cohort of people who've been doing it for 10 years. There's a whole cohort of people who've been bashing Donald Trump for 10 years. Everybody in politics, all the Democrats in Congress, Howard Stern, Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Kimmel, and everybody on The View, everybody on CNN, everybody on MSNBC, Rachel Maddow, Joy Reid, Don Lemon. They've been bashing Donald Trump for 10 years. Who canceled them? If any of them got canceled, they just got canceled because they didn't have an audience, because they couldn't carry an audience. But nobody on the right was like, don't let that person talk. The View's been on TV the whole time. Wasn't Rosie O'Donnell on The View? Rosie O'Donnell was from The View before Donald Trump got into politics. There's no way you can make a legitimate argument that cancel culture started on the right. That's ridiculous. But again, the coordinated message from the left is, oh, cancel culture is only people on the right. Only people they're convincing are their own fans. But nobody believes this. So some view this backlash and suspension as consistent with a pattern where conservative or right-leaning organizations decide what is acceptable speech in the media, and central media and government align to punish dissenting voices. Again, that is ridiculous. One of the biggest things that people get canceled over these days is, let's just say in the last 10 years, you had the virus, you had race, and you got LGBTQ. That's pretty much the top three. Can we agree? Anybody want to throw another contender in there that outranks those top three? Basically, those three things. You got the virus was one, which was an isolated thing that came and went. Then you got race and you got LGBTQ. Those are the top three things. And abortion. Okay. Abortion is a good one. So let's throw the virus out. Abortion, race, LGBTQ. Those are the top three things that have been hot button issues in the last 10 years. People on the right say there shouldn't be any abortion and it's just pro-life. That's the far end of the spectrum is pro-life. The other end is do as thou wilt. I don't see anybody on the right canceling somebody for saying that you have a right to get an abortion if you want to. They debate it. They're willing to argue it. Now, I hear a lot of people on the left saying, well, we don't even want to hear you say it. We don't even want to hear it. We don't even want to hear anybody reading from the Bible in front of an abortion clinic. That's canceled. Race. If you're white, you say something. If you state a statistical truth about violence when it comes to race, or anything when it comes to race that happens to look like it's making, let's say, black people look bad, you get canceled. You might not even want to say it. You might get fired from your job. That's cancel culture. Who's getting canceled on the left for saying anything? I haven't heard. What's the argument on the left that gets canceled when it comes to race? Is there one? I haven't heard one. They say, oh, well, the majority of homicides happen from white people. Anybody got canceled for saying that? I haven't heard it. And the other one is LGBTQ, which is what just happened to Charlie Kirk. You can't state that there are only two genders. You can't state that a boy can't become a girl, that a girl can't become a boy. You can't even say it out loud if you don't call somebody by their pronouns, their proper pronouns, quote unquote, proper pronouns, you're doing something wrong. That's cancel culture. That's not coming from the right. It's coming from the left. How can anybody even try to make this argument with a straight face? And again, that's why I said these people are coordinated and paid by the Democratic Party. Y'all want to know how Kamala Harris spent $1 billion in 2024? A lot of that money was going to these influencers. How you spend $1 billion? A lot of it was going to influencers, and the rest of it was going to paying people to come to her events. That's where the money was going for Kamala Harris's campaign, in case any of you didn't know where the money was going. That's where it went. Now, others believe that Kimmel overstepped and that free speech does have consequences, as it does. The First Amendment protects your right to free speech, meaning you can say whatever you want to say. That does not mean that anything you say cannot or will not be used against you, which is what is part of your Miranda rights. If you're arrested by the police, anything you say can and will be used against you. So you can say whatever you want. Just understand anything you say might be used against you. Jimmy Kimmel said what he wanted to say. Nobody blocked him from talking. So people saying that this is an attack on free speech, not really. Technically, it's not. They let him say whatever he wanted. He said what he wanted to say, and now he has a consequence for what he wanted to say. He can still say what he wants to say. There may be another consequence. You just got to watch what you say. And if you don't want bosses telling you what you can and can't say, fire your boss and go independent, Jimmy Kimmel. Again, that's forget about my opinion on even what he said, or the left or the right. My personal advice to Jimmy Kimmel is go independent so that you don't have any bosses. And you can say whatever you want and nobody can stop you. That's all you got to do. Do what Joe Rogan did. I mean, if you're any good, you should be able to carry an audience. Do what Megyn Kelly did. Do what Candace Owens did. Do what Joe Rogan did. If you're good, you can carry an audience without the platform. You are the platform. I already said that earlier. So broadcasters often include content clauses and community sensitivity in their policies. That's definitely in the contract, Jimmy Kimmel. So Jimmy Kimmel he doesn't really have recourse here. He can just try to get right with his bosses and get back on TV, but he has no recourse. All right? There are clauses in the contract that say, hey, there's certain things you just can't say here, and that's just the deal. And Jimmy Kimmel knows this, by the way. Now, this situation is seen by many on the left as a test case for how much pressure Trump agencies can exert on media, possibly chilling criticism of the administration. And I say this is the beautiful job the political left has done when it comes to Donald Trump. They've done a great job of this. And this is where somebody like Charlie Kirk was very valuable. And this is where those of you who are MAGA supporters, Trump supporters, those of you who are conservatives, this is why Charlie Kirk needs somebody to step in and do what he was doing, or multiple people to step in and do what Charlie Kirk was doing. Because in situations like this, here's a dominant narrative right now. Dominant narrative is Donald Trump and the MAGA administration are controlling the media airwaves. They're blocking people from saying anything that they don't want to hear, and they are censoring free speech. Now, is any of that true? No. But do a lot of people believe it? Absolutely. Here's where somebody like Charlie Kirk would step up and step in and say, no, that's nonsense. Here's what's actually happening. He can make a compendious and complete argument pushing back against that narrative, explaining why that's absolutely not true. He could do it with a smile on his face and not in such an abrasive way that it will push a lot of people off. He could even get people on the left to agree with him. That's what Charlie Kirk could do, that there is no one in the space right now. We went over several names yesterday who can do it the same way with that same level of touch. Yes, you got the Nick F. He can say something. Candace Owens can say something. Megyn Kelly can say something. Tucker Carlson can say something. But Matt Walsh can say something. But Ben Shapiro can say something. Can they do it the way Charlie Kirk did it? No, they can't. The political right, MAGA, conservatives, you need someone who can do what Charlie Kirk was doing, because this is the perfect place for him to step up and say something. They're talking about him and his death. But this is exactly where he would step in and be able to say it in a way that none of the other people, influencers on the right, can say it right now. That's what's going to be missing. That's the void left by Charlie Kirk's death. And again, those of you on the right, y'all better get on this. Somebody needs to step in and take that spot. Now, there are voices out there warning about cancel culture being enforced by regulatory force. I say that's complete nonsense. Cancel culture has been going on for 15 years. Now, all of a sudden, everybody's excited about cancel culture. Miss me with this bullshit. Last point. Some warn that making this suspension about political silencing overshadows accountability for what you say, which is what I just said. Yes, you have free speech in America, but it doesn't mean you can just say whatever you want. You walk up to somebody in the street and say the wrong thing, you might get punched in your mouth. You have free speech. They got free speech too. All right, you have freedom of expression. You express yourself by saying what you said. They express themselves by punching you in your face. All right, that's how it goes. Somebody may say that's street justice. I'll say, okay, well, if you're in the street, that's what you should get, street justice. You don't want street justice, don't go on the street. All right, this is how it works. So networks and station groups have financial stakes and reputations to maintain. That's the game. Yes. And when you work at a network and you work at station group, when you work in corporate, you can't say whatever you want to say. How many of you have a corporate job? How many of you work in a bureaucratic organization? Can you just say whatever you want to say and keep your job? Give me a yes or no in the comments. Any of you work in a corporation or you work in any type of bureaucratic organization with a lot of layers of bosses and rules and regulations, and you got a work contract, can you just say whatever you want to say and get away with it and keep your job? No, you can't just say anything. Even if you say it off the clock, if it gets back to your bosses what you said, you can lose your job. You can lose your on-the-clock job for something that you said off the clock. Is this true? And everybody knows it. You can't just say whatever you want to say. Jimmy Kimmel is famous. Jimmy Kimmel is on TV, and I believe Jimmy Kimmel is popular enough that he could do it without the platform, but you're on the platform, and when you're on the platform, you got to abide by the rules of the platform. Y'all remember when Joe Rogan, during the virus, Joe Rogan was quote-unquote platforming. I don't even like that term, but he was bringing a lot of people on his platform who were questioning the prevailing wisdom of the CDC about the jabs. Y'all remember that? And a bunch of people were pushing back against Joe Rogan, and even allegedly people who worked at Spotify were mad that Joe Rogan was putting out episodes with guests that were challenging the narrative about the jabs. Y'all remember that? And Joe Rogan came out with this kind of halfway, sort of, kind of apology to people on Spotify who were pushing back. And I was really annoyed that Joe Rogan did that. I said, stop being a pussy. All right, you have more power than Spotify has. You got a contract with Spotify. And what Joe Rogan should have did was said, listen, Spotify, I'm going to put whoever I want on my show, which he continued to do. And I don't want to hear shit from any of your workers because they are more easily replaceable than I am. Tell them to shut the hell up and stop letting them come out and bash me when I have granted you the privilege of licensing my content for your platform, because I don't need you. You need me. I can take my content back to YouTube. I don't need Spotify. That's what he should have said. He didn't say that. I was kind of annoyed with Joe Rogan for his half-hearted, somewhat mea culpa apology that he gave to the world when people were pushing back that way. But at the same time, we had to give Joe Rogan some grace, because Joe Rogan is not hard on any side politically. At least he doesn't appear to be. But I just didn't like the fact that he was kind of halfway apologizing to Spotify for what was happening there. Not Spotify, the company, but some bum workers at Spotify, and to the world in general. Like, why are you allowing these people to come on your platform who are questioning the narrative? Well, the narrative was a bunch of bullshit, which we know. They said, take the jab, you won't get the virus. Or did that happen? Right, so can we agree that was bullshit? Okay, just checking. All this said, folks, let me take a quick restroom break. Then we're going to get to using our soundboard. The soundboard is ready to go. Let me take a restroom break real quick. All y'all talk amongst yourselves for about 90 seconds, and we'll get into our best sounds in a minute. And again, moderators, let the dissenters dissent. We're going to get to them in a minute. We got our soundboard ready. The soundboard handles the dissenters. I'll be right back. 90 seconds, talk amongst yourselves, then we're going to get to the comments. Let's get to it. Let's get to it. I'm here for the comments. Isn't that what people like to say sometimes? I'm here for the comments. Let's get to it. ROI Vlogs over on YouTube said he didn't say that the shooter was one of their own. He said that MAGA was trying to do everything to paint the shooter as being anything than one of their own. ROI Vegas, first of all, I read the complete statement by Charlie Kirk at the top of this live. So I'm assuming that you were not there when I read that. And secondly, when I said it again, I was paraphrasing what he said. And what you just said is the exact same thing. So please miss me with the nonsense.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
All right. So over on Instagram. Just seeing what we got. Soul Art says, look like Jimmy. If Jimmy apologizes, he'll get his show back. Well, he still has his show. I mean, he owns the platform. I don't know if he's going to apologize. He probably will if he comes back on ABC. He'll say something. Will Avila said, Crockett said in Congress, people doing a crime doesn't mean you're a criminal. Yeah, she kind of talks too much, but that's what happens. Jasmine Crockett has Kamala Harris syndrome, is that the more you let her talk, the more she exposes herself. It may be annoying at first when she starts talking, but if you let her keep talking, eventually you get to the bottom of the well. And Jasmine Crockett's, the bottom of her well has been reached. Will Avila says, the left will say transgender, the right is against it and don't want it in their life. Yes, I can't say what I want in my job. Yes, I mean, everybody understands that. So let's get to it. And I'm on TikTok now looking at the comments here, and I'm reading from the oldest that I can see. So I can't see every comment, folks. So if I don't see your comment, it's nothing personal. Melissa Schultz, thanks for the follow. Mikey said, cancel culture started when the Democrats were in political power. Yeah, of course it did. Absolutely. Friend like Tasha said, the right is canceling people for disagreeing with the right. What do you mean by that? LMCQ said the right are thin-skinned crybabies. LMCQ, I don't think so. I don't think that's the case. Big Sam 5 says, it appears your echo chamber does not do any real research, so you can tell them anything. Well, Big Sam, what do you mean by real research? You got to describe what real research means. In my experience, if somebody says real research, what that means is they came to the same conclusion that you came to, and then you're calling them the echo chamber. And even if there may be more of, let's say, them, whatever you're referring to, than there is you and people who agree with you, that doesn't mean that you are necessarily right. It doesn't mean that they're necessarily wrong. That makes your frame here what we call a non sequitur, translated to it does not follow.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
Michelle said, we don't have hate in our heart to attempt to unalive anyone like they do. Fair point. Margie, thanks for the follow. Friend said, it did start on the left coming from a leftist. It did absolutely start on the left. Brown Sugar, thanks for the share. Deeds said, cancel culture is to cancel old, outdated ideas. In typical fashion, y'all expanded it. Well, first of all, who is y'all? I don't know who y'all is.
Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.
And that is not what cancel culture is, Deeds. Cancel culture is about silencing the refrain of anything that people are uncomfortable hearing. It's not canceling old, outdated ideas, because who decides what's an old, outdated idea? Do you decide? Does somebody else decide? Do I decide? Something being old does not necessarily mean it's outdated, and something being new does not necessarily mean that it's good. So your frame here is, first of all, inaccurate. That's not what cancel culture is. That's not how it is. That's not how it is deployed. And secondly, your frame of, even if that's what you thought it was, that still doesn't make any sense. Non sequitur.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
Michelle said, I was censored on Facebook anytime I shared my opinion on a virus. And yes, Facebook was censoring very hard during that time. So anybody who thinks that Mark Zuckerberg is on the right, Mark Zuckerberg is on whatever side is in power. All right, that's his job. He was at the inauguration of Trump because Kamala didn't win. Had Kamala won, Mark Zuckerberg would have been at Kamala's inauguration. So he's on whatever side is in power. That's how it works. LMCQ said COVID, I wasn't supposed to say that. The virus took the life of millions of people, allegedly. How will we ever really know when people would die of a car accident, then they would test the dead body, and then if they had the virus, it get tested positive, they would mark that as a death from the virus. So how will we actually know, LMCQ?
Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.
Zeus, thanks for the follow. Big Sam said the right gets canceled because they are stochastic terrorists and their species lead to violence. Big Sam, really?
Strawberry cheesecake.
That's the best you can come up with. Lisa Willis, thanks for the follow. Friend like Tasha said, the right's canceling people with different opinions. I wouldn't go that far. No, can't do that one. Marty Whitfield said, what about Tucker Carlson? What about him? Dee said you blow up abortion clinic. Who's you? Who are you talking about? Live Free said, what is wrong with American people? We are so weird. We go against our own constitution. Well, it depends on what you're referring to. You got to be more specific. Live Love Cruz said a child shouldn't die for its father's sin. All right, fair enough. I agree. John Russ said the left only tolerate within their bubble. If you're outside that, they get rid of and cancel you. Generally, that has happened. It depends on who considers himself to be on the left, though. Keely, thanks for the follow. Jay Rocker said, who is the left canceled? Speaking against is not canceled. Well, Donald Trump. 2021, they canceled him. He literally got canceled off every social media platform. Meemaw said the right wants the woman arrested. They canceled Roe v. Wade. Well, that was the Supreme Court that did that, but I get what you mean. LMCQ said people have been protesting abortion clinics for decades. Yes, this is true. RS Ball 2010, thanks for the follow. Kayla Miller said the left is emotionally charged. They don't want to have a calm debate. They don't even listen. Well, many people on the left. I say if we had to say, are there more on the left or on the right who fit the description you just gave? I would say more on the left. So I get what you're saying. Live Love Cruz said, anybody seen looting or riots or burning buildings recently? No, I haven't. Last time was 2020, and that was mostly people who are Democratic voters on the left, and mostly in black cities and towns, unfortunately. Maddie said Kimmel dressed in blackface and wasn't canceled. Yeah, well, a couple of reasons for that. One is he's on the left, and two, it was before this era of cancel culture. He couldn't do that now. He could do it then. Salty Chick, thanks for the follow. Sean Get Bit, good morning. D. Carter, thanks for the share. J. Rocker said, no evidence of Tyler's motives, only hearsay, not even sure he did it. Well, there's absolutely evidence, J. Rocker. I'm not sure you understand what evidence means. There's no proof of his motives. There is plenty of evidence. That's the reason why he was charged. You don't get charged without evidence. Now, you don't get convicted without proof, but you get charged by evidence.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
Field guy said, no one is prosecuting or jailing Kimmel for what he said. This is true. Lisa Kelly said, literally every single thing the left accuses the right of is what they themselves are doing. This is often true. But again, I need to know what each one of you means when you say the left and the right. I don't think all of you are talking about the same thing. Lisa Kelly said they're telling on themselves somewhat. Nicole said freedom of speech, not freedom from others' reactions. That is correct. CJCS, thanks for the follow. Peller Sefero Miller, thanks for the follow. Big Old said he got canceled because his boss said so. Well, yeah, technically he's only suspended. Technically he could come back, so we'll see what happens. Meemaw said he didn't say anything bad. Well, he said something that was inaccurate, and it was insensitive, and it was bad timing. So does that make it bad? No, not necessarily, but who's the judge of what's bad or not? I would say the boss. Robbie, thanks for the follow. Mystic Dreams, thanks for the follow. CCRK said, how are they saying Trump had him fired? I don't get it. Because blaming things on Trump makes it more sensational. That's the only reason they say that. 502 Country said, don't respond to the leftist trolls. They're trying to distract from the creators live. No, you should respond to the leftist trolls. They're not trolling. They're just disagreeing. It's okay to disagree, folks. We are open to disagreement. This right here is endemic exactly what I'm talking about. Part of cancel culture, folks, is when somebody has an opinion that they're willing to stand on that you, any one of you, doesn't like. You have to allow them to speak. You have to allow dissenting opinions. And if their opinion is really not useful and is really not good, then you should be able to stand up to it and knock down their nonsense, which is the reason why I read them out loud and I respond to it. You can't just block people from having an opinion just because you don't like it. You should actually let them talk. I just gave y'all this example. Kamala Harris is a great example. Currently, what's the chick's name? Jasmine Crockett. She's a good example. Is that, yes, when these people first come out and they start talking, they're incendiary and they draw a lot of attention, and you may be a little bit annoyed by their rhetoric. But if you let them keep talking, eventually they will talk themselves into a hole because there is no substance behind what they're saying. And if someone's argument has no substance, let them keep talking. Eventually they're going to expose themselves. Now, if their argument does have substance, then eventually that's going to show as well. But you got to let people talk. We got to be willing to have open discussion here, folks. And open discussion does not mean agreement. Open discussion means exactly that, discussion. Discussion can be just as much disagreement as it means agreement. Everybody's allowed an opinion here. And your opinion doesn't even have to make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, then we use our soundboard.
Strawberry cheesecake.
Meemaw said DT's feelings got hurt. I don't think Donald Trump had much to do with this. Again, Jimmy Kimmel has been bashing Donald Trump for like 10 years. So I don't think his feelings all of a sudden got hurt in 2025.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
Live Free says, as long as the check clears, the contract's still in place. Yeah, they still got to pay him. Hazel says, so you're a Trump supporter. Got it. No, classic.
Strawberry cheesecake.
Stevie Hucks, thanks for the follow. The strawberry cheesecake sound, by the way, I didn't explain it, is for the straw man fallacy. It's the most common logical fallacy I see in my comments. It is when you misrepresent somebody's position as something that they didn't actually say or that they don't actually believe, but you frame it that way and then you say it. You give it back to him in the form of a question, a sarcastic statement, an incredulous statement, or you just throw it out there as a way of trying to frame the situation differently than what it actually is. That's called the straw man. So basically you make a weak version of a person's position in order to make it easier to fight against. That's the straw man. So people do this all the time. That's why this sound is so popular. KK said, you're uninformed. Well, on certain subjects, I am uninformed. For example, I'm uninformed on the particulars of the game of hockey. But what I'm talking about here today, I'm not uninformed. So what are you referring to? Moni, thanks for the follow. Kayla Miller said, the young generation needs a conservative voice. Well, there was one. There are conservative voices still. It's just they don't have the same mix as Charlie Kirk. April Lucas, thanks for the follow. Hazel said, so people can't say their opinions anymore. And all of you want to get better at noticing the straw man fallacy. Usually when someone's given a straw man, they often, not always, start their comment with the word so. And then what they do is they rephrase what you said into something that you didn't say. And then they ask you a question as if they're repeating back your words. Hazel just did it perfectly. She said, so people can't say their opinions anymore. What did I just say 2 minutes ago? I said I want all opinions. And now here she is saying, so people can't say their opinions anymore. This is a classic straw man fallacy.
Strawberry cheesecake.
The thing is, the straw man comes out a lot when people are in disagreement. Usually people don't use straw man when they agree with each other. The straw man usually happens when someone is disagreeing because they can't handle what they disagree with. So what they do is they try to make the thing that they disagree with sound crazy or make it sound stupid. So they reframe it to make it sound dumb, and then they argue against the thing that sounds dumb. That's a straw man version of your point, as opposed to the steel man, which is when you make somebody's argument stronger and better, and then you try to argue against that, which is much harder to do. Jessica Berry, thanks for the follow. Meemaw said, you do realize the CK hated you, right?
Strawberry cheesecake.
The straw man. So you're assuming what Charlie Kirk thought. And number two, it's funny, so I'm going to give you this one.
I like your funny words, Magic Man.
That was funny. There's also a loaded question. So you get this sound for the loaded question. And it's also an appeal to emotion that allegedly Charlie Kirk hated me, which means what? I'm not allowed to say anything positive about Charlie Kirk because he allegedly hated me. How you know what he was thinking, I have no idea. But
Emotional, damn it.
and you're saying this, I guess, as a frame of I'm not allowed to say anything about Charlie Kirk that you don't approve of because allegedly he hated me. Allegedly.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
And this is a bit of an ad hominem, is an implied ad hominem.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
So all of that combines into you get the Russell Westbrook triple-double award for multiple logical fallacies all used in one frame all at the same time. And you did it with a very great economy of words. So congratulations, Meemaw.
Oh, baby, it's triple! Oh, yeah!
Congratulations, Meemaw. Lee said, have to get to work. Catch you next time. Thank you, Lee. Jay Rocker said, it was stated that Kimmel bosses didn't think what he said was that bad. They were worried about the government. Stated by who? And generally, regardless of who stated it, I think that could probably be true. And if they're worried about the government, they should be, because one of their companies is trying to do a merger right now. You don't want the government on the wrong side of you when you're trying to do a merger. Joel Greer said, Kirk's wife has been named successor at TPUSA. Fair enough, she should be. I mean, it's his organization. D said, please clarify if you're sharing an opinion or if you're a follower of him for real. Who is him? What are you referring to? Who is him? Courtney said, accountability culture is what's happening. Well, I get what you're saying there, Courtney, but accountability is a tricky word because people tend to use it when they see something that they approve of, and then they call it cancel when they see something they don't approve of. So it's tricky language. I get what you're saying, but that word is used very interchangeably. DJ Roberto, IBB of Panama. Good morning. Wendy Arnone, thanks for the follow. Big Sam said, what was the comment that was made that was so bad? I don't think his comment was so bad. I said that at the beginning of this live. I don't think it was that bad. I think it was insensitive. I think it was bad timing. I think Jimmy Kimmel overreached by making the comment, but he said other things that have been worse about Trump before he said this one. I think this was just perfect timing for them to use it against him. That's what I think happened. Karina said, you can't just share false information during an investigation. I would sue the hell out of him. Who are you referring to? Michelle said, freedom of speech comes with consequences. That is true. Nicole said, you represent your employer and they have a right to let you go. Yes, they call it at-will employment. Live Free said, black people don't assassinate white people. These are white problems, period. Okay. I'll just let that stand. I'm not even going to go into that one. Terica Marin said, people cannot just say whatever you want to say in the corporate world. Very true. Wendy said, they will have your box packed in the security escort. Yeah. Kayla Miller said, a small business I work with almost fired an employee for a Facebook post. Yeah, it happens. I've heard. Brooke Mills said, I have a corporate job. No, we cannot just say anything. We have a code of conduct to abide by. KT, I work at a salon and couldn't say whatever the hell I wanted. LOL. St. Nicholas said, I don't think Jimmy Kimmel's ratings were good before that. Well, it depends on what you consider to be good. But his ratings have been dropping over the years. That's the problem. And I think one reason is because he's gone so hard on one side that he cut off half the possible audience. It was not a good idea, depending on what you're trying to do. Jimmy Kimmel used to appeal to everyone, but when he jumped on this Trump thing, he cut off half the audience. If he would joke about both sides, then he would keep that audience. But you can't only joke about one side. Lee 0526, thanks for the follow. Jen Jane, thanks for the follow. Pamela Pritchett, good morning. Jay Rocker says, shouldn't be fired if you didn't violate any rules on your job. Well, every job has different rules, Jay Rocker. So it depends on what the rules are. User, thanks for the follow. Jen said, agree. We cannot say whatever we want without potential consequences. This is true in all of life. Jay Rocker said, unless what you said or did affects the company bottom line. Now, that's a non sequitur.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
You could do something that doesn't affect the company bottom line and still get fired. Like if you work at Pizza Hut and you walk into the job and the boss is there and you say, hey, boss, fuck you. That doesn't affect the bottom line of the company, but you probably get fired for saying it. So your framing here, J Rock, is inaccurate. Hazel said, everyone bowing down to Trump. Well, he technically is the president. It might be a good idea to bow down to him if you need something done through the government. I think it would be a smart move. Satine, thanks for the share. Juke Jester, thanks for the follow. Satine, thanks for the consistent shares. I see you. Cooler Lynn, thank you for the share. Carla, Indiana, good morning. Big Sam said, so we comparing, he says so, or see. Big Sam says, so we comparing stochastic terrorism to political jokes is pure comedy. No, that's a straw man. Come on.
Strawberry cheesecake.
Big Sam, you ran out of content today, early. X said, free speech doesn't equal no consequences. Words have consequences and a company has a right to fire. Yes, they do. Wendy said, who has the money to sue? Well, who's getting sued? And on what grounds? That's the first question you got to ask yourself. Kaylee Holloway said, if you're mad because you lost your job over something you said, then imagine losing your life. Good argument. Good point. Wendy said, I lost my spot. I may do a little bit of overtime here today. No more than 10 minutes, folks. So we can go no more than 15 minutes here, everybody. No more than 15 minutes and we'll be done here today. So any of you who's watching the clock, I am. Let's see. Where was I? Lost my spot here. Wendy said, well, it takes time. You seem angry, dude. Are you a lawyer? Are you talking to me? Straw man.
Strawberry cheesecake.
And this is also an appeal to emotion.
Emotional, damn it.
And then you're asking him, am I a lawyer? This is also an appeal to authority.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
So, Wendy, you get the second Russell Westbrook Award of the day, unless you were talking to somebody else. But it looks like you were talking to me. I don't know if you were talking to me or somebody else.
Oh, baby, a triple. Oh, yeah.
Marcia said, plus he tossed shade on Trump for not being upset as the media claimed. Yeah, he did a lot. Susan said, most employers won't settle if contract, code of ethics, etc. have been violated. Well, they would fight that in court if he challenges it. But none of that happened yet. Chelsea said, now's a great time for an independent to run for presidency. Chelsea, I don't know about that. How are you going to get the money? Where are you going to get the money from? Karina said, many more conservatives were fired and canceled under Biden. Nobody complained. Yes, because it wasn't news. Genghis Khan said, Dems can't tell what a man or woman is or what a criminal is. What's next? A boy or a girl? Well, they already did, man. I guess you said man or woman, so I guess I don't know what's next. Good question. Yes, thanks for the follow. Michelle said, you guys are playing the game. Everybody's playing the game. Some people are just playing it well. Some people are playing it poorly. X said, every company is whoever is in power side is all about what can make them money. Fair enough. Adventures in the SIP. Mary Smith, thanks for the follow. Ashley Mack said, ventilators took the life of millions of Americans. Bonuses and profits won. Raul Franco, Lisa Hickox, thanks for the follows. All right, I can get a few more comments here, folks. We got 14 minutes, then we'll be done. Stephanie, thanks for the follow. Big Sam said what he said was not inaccurate. Yeah, he did. He said one of their own killed Charlie Kirk. That wasn't one of their own. The guy was a leftist. Only thing they had in common was he was white. Other than that, they have nothing in common. Big Kev, thanks for the follow. Genghis said if Trump could get their FCC license revoked, so think about it. Not without a fight. He couldn't just do it. A lot of people think the president can just do stuff that the president can't just do. Big Sam said Trump applies pressure because they want a merger that has to go through, so Trump can't understand what the rest of it is. Big Sam, we talked about that at the beginning. You must have missed the beginning of the live. Jay Rocker said, thank you for saying that because your mods have been ridiculous muting and banning people. All right, well, the mods have cooled off from muting and banning people. We're not going to have trolls and spammers, but disagreements we want. So Amy says, seems as so few can have adult conversations anymore. You can't explain your views. So sad. Well, there's still people who can do it. You just got to look. You got to look around and find them. These days, more people have picked a side. You're right about that. Big Sam says Trump's ops had to be dealt with if your company wants to deal with Trump. Well, if your company wants to do a deal that has to be approved by the government, then you got to deal with the administration. But you have to do that under every administration. It's not just about Donald Trump. Big Sam, you seem to be framing this to be about Donald Trump, but this is the same thing that was happening under Biden, Obama, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush. It happens on everybody.
Strawberry cheesecake.
Shy but not shy said, I love your podcast. Thank you. I got an actual podcast. I don't know if you're talking about this or you're talking about my actual podcast, which is called Work on Your Game. It comes on Apple, Spotify every single day for free. This I don't consider a podcast. I just consider this a live stream. Sandra Alvarez, thanks for the follow and thank you for the gift. Dim said, Dims were offended by a girl selling blue jeans. Well, I get what you're saying. KC said, appreciate your approach and professionalism. Thank you. James Eaton said, if he'd been a cable channel, it wouldn't have been a problem. No, because it wouldn't have gotten as much reach and people wouldn't have cared. And the government wouldn't have as much say. KC Investor, thanks for the follow. Satine said, every morning listening to you, appreciate the knowledge. Thank you. Amy E. Henderson, Raul Franco, Arthur Hever, Corbett, Samantha, thank you for the follows, all of you. Courtney said, emotional damage. Savannah James, thanks for the follow. Savannah James, is that LeBron James' wife? Ain't that her name? Renee said, do you know Charlie Kirk? No, I didn't know Charlie Kirk. I was reading somebody's comment. Ted Levine said, Kimmel was canceled for business reasons. Yes, we can agree it was a business reason. Now, he can be right back. He's technically just suspended. He's not canceled technically. He's just suspended. Big Sam said, did Kirk advocate for people like you? Well, who is somebody like me, Big Sam? You had to describe me before I can answer that question. This sounds like you're trying to, first of all, it's a red herring.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
Because the conversation is really about Jimmy Kimmel and him getting canceled. And secondly, you're implying something here that sounds like a straw man. Sounds like you're leaning towards a straw man. Because of your reputation, I will give you another slice.
Strawberry cheesecake.
Michelle says, so much social media outrage. Well, Michelle, we don't mind social media outrage. Okay, social media outrage provides me with ideas for content. Okay, so I'm not mad about social media outrage. It is actually beneficial for me. It tells me what I should talk about. Team TNT said, if you disagree, the comeback results in response with you are MAGA, always assume. Well, people use MAGA as a pejorative. Team TNT, that's the whole thing. People use MAGA, conservative, Trump supporter, as a pejorative to make it sound like you're doing something wrong, instead of actually engaging with your point, which is what you're saying. So I agree with you. Adam Morris said, what are your thoughts on Candace Owens' conspiracy theory currently? Well, conspiracy theory? I don't think she has a conspiracy theory. I think she has a theory and she has questions and she's investigating. So I wouldn't even label it a conspiracy theory. Conspiracy theory sounds like a way of undermining a person's argument to make it sound like it's just some nonsense that they're throwing out there to get attention. So I'm going to challenge your frame here. And I can't even answer that question because it's a false question.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
Black Duganaroof, thank you for the follow. Christy EB, thanks for the follow. PK said, Jimmy Kimmel's ratings are down. So sponsors are leaving. You cannot have a show without money. This is true. Well, Heck said, consequences not sculpting free speech. Another rant. They look like toddlers. Okay. Just Me said, people on the left have been trying to get conservatives fired for expressing their opinions online. That is true. Jez's Journal said, one person lost their life, one person lost their job. Jimmy will be fine. Good way to frame it. PK said, Jimmy became a radical mouthpiece for the Democratic Party. I wouldn't call him radical, but he's a big mouthpiece because he has a big platform. Timothy said, compare Kimmel's firing versus Carlson in the media reaction. Well, exactly. The media is much more to the left. Ashley, thanks for the follow. Yeek said, Jimmy has never been funny. Okay, fair enough. I never found Jimmy funny either, but he does have an audience of people who do think he's funny. So to each their own. Ashley Mack said, in my previous corporate world, you could say stuff if it fit the left narrative. I would believe that's true. Air Force said, everyone's responsible for what they say. Yes, we got 8 minutes here, folks, then we'll be done. Michelle said, you should refuse to get caught up in collective anger or mass psychosis. Well, it sounds easy, Michelle. Sounds good. Bob Leprechaun said, what does that soundbite have to do with non sequiturs? I just labeled it the non sequitur soundbite. I just gave it that title. I made it up, Bob. And I use that one anytime somebody says something that just doesn't make sense. That's why I use that sound.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
Non sequitur means it does not follow. So you're not that guy. It does not follow. That's the closest connection I could find. So that's the one we use. Plus, most people don't know what non sequitur even means. Stacy said Jimmy was ecstatic when Tucker was fired. I'm sure he was. Just me. Thanks for the follow. Marcia said, I think Trump abuses his power to influence media outlets. What do you mean abuses his power? I don't think he's abusing it. I think he's using his power. I think when people use their power in ways that people don't want them to use it, they call it abuse. But I wouldn't say Trump's abusing his power. If so, how so? What did he do wrong? Stephanie Reiser, thanks for the follow. All right, a few more comments, everybody. We got 7 minutes, and then we will be done. Marsha asked, am I a supporter of Nick F? I'm not sure I can say that word you put there. Groyper. That guy is banned on this app. So I got to be careful saying his name. Crystal said, what about Carr's role in the firing? Well, his role was, all he did was give a warning to them. He didn't actually do anything. He just gave a warning. With his free speech protected. Shelly, thanks for the follow. Memory B said, debating classes should begin in grade school. I agree. That's actually a good point. Nancy Mad, thanks for the follow. Marcia said, how is the shooter left or right? He's neither. Well, he was trans, and I don't see the political right supporting trans people. So if we have to put him on the side, we got to put him on the left. And since the left likes to play that game, then it should be played the other way. Bush and Barry said, Democrats have something new now. His gamer tag is on Steam as Donald Trump. I didn't know that. Whiskey said, appreciate your take. Thank you. Marissa said, the only thing other people called in to complain about it as well. Adam Harris said, people got emotion cloud reason. I think everyone has PTSD from life. LOL. I agree. Krista Beckham, thanks for the follow. Shelly said, funny, those I tried to unite with on free speech under Biden are now screaming free speech. Yeah, interesting, right? Brookie Cookies, thank you for the follow. Michelle said, the young on both sides represents society's collective unconsciousness. Yes, but everybody who's on here, remember that this is just on social media. Understand that most people are not on social media talking about anything. Sean said, do you know about Trey Reed? Yeah, I heard about him being found dead, but they haven't found any other information yet. They are investigating still. So it's really not much else to talk about except speculation. Nobody has any other information. Whiskey, thanks for the follow. Let's see. Genghis said, laugh tracks and applause signs don't make you funny. Well, every late night TV show has a laugh track and applause sign, Genghis. So I get what you're saying. I understand. 5 minutes, everybody. Then it'll be done. Adam Harris said, I didn't mean it that way. I love Kansas. Thanks for making me review my words. I get what you're saying, Adam. It's conspiracy theory, that term. I know you may not have meant it that way, but when somebody says conspiracy theory these days, colloquially, it tends to mean somebody's throwing out some crazy idea and you should just not even listen to it because it's a conspiracy theory. Now, she has a theory. I don't know if it's a conspiracy because it looks like it's just her. It's just her putting it out there, and she has sources. But I think what she's doing right now is just asking questions, and then every day she's giving more information. So I don't think she's come to a conclusion yet. I think she's just investigating, and she's kind of bringing everybody along as she's learning more, and then she's asking questions in the process. A lot of people don't like that. I'm not saying you, but a lot of people don't like that, and a lot of people just don't like Candace, rather. So I understand. I understand what you're saying, though. Thank you for clarifying. Mallory, thanks for the follow. Jasmine Carter, good morning. Joel said they tried to cancel Trump. He's canceling them. Yeah, they tried very hard to cancel Trump. And he's not even doing, I mean, if Donald Trump did back to people what they tried to do to him, then we have real anarchy. Donald Trump's actually showing a ton of restraint as far as I'm concerned. Kyle, thanks for the follow. Jess said, do people forget that us business owners lost business some closed due to supporting the president? Very true. Perez, thanks for the follow. Carla said, go on a parent-teacher conference. Have a great weekend, everybody. Shout out to the parents who go to parent-teacher conferences. Bonnie Johnson, thanks for the follow. Jaslyn said, how are you today? Have a great weekend. Thank you, Jaslyn. I'm doing excellent. So, everybody, I'll tell you how to get one of my books, The Mirror of Motivation, the self-guide, the self-discipline. The book's free. Just cover the shipping. Go to mirrorofmotivation.com. Or you can send a text message to me. Text the word LIVE, live, to my number, 305-384-6894. On all these other apps that I'm streaming on, my phone number is right there in the pinned comment. But TikTok is the only one where I can't do it. So I got to tell y'all the number. The number's in my bio if you're on TikTok. 305-384-6894. Text the word live, LIVE, or text the word mirror, MIRROR, Text the word mirror. I'll send you a link to get this book. The book's free. Actually, I should tell you text mirror. Text the word mirror, get the book free. Mirrorofmotivation.com. This is the mindset starting point for all of you. This book is all about how can you be the person you need to be so you can do what you need to do, have what you want to have. Again, the book's free. We just asked that you covered shipping. I will ship you a physical copy of this book right here, mirrorofmotivation.com. And you'll be in my texting community, which is free to join. I send out a weekly motivation every Monday. So Monday, that weekly motivation text will come out at about this time. 10 o'clock every Monday is when I send that text. I also have a daily motivation if you want it. The daily motivation is 17 cents a day. That comes out to $5 a month. If you want let me make sure my math is right on that. And we got $5 a month divided by, let's just say 30 days. Yeah, 17 cents a day. If you want my daily motivation text, it's $5 a month. You don't have to get that. You can get the weekly motivation for free. Just be in my text community for free. Text me at my number again, 305-384-6894. Marky Man said, Mr. Sun today. Yeah, he didn't come in here. He came in here, but he didn't come and stay. He just came in, showed me something, and he left. Adam, thanks for the follow. Sunfish, thanks for the follow. Joe13169, thank you for the follow. And what else? I do these live streams, everybody, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. We're usually done by 10 o'clock. I went a little bit over time today because I talked a lot before we got to the comments. But I do respond to comments, as you all can see. This is real time. So anybody asking if this is AI, I think all of y'all can see that this is actually happening in real time. Usually we talk about a current event, whatever happens to be happening in the world. That's what we talk about. And I get my news and information mostly from looking at what people are talking about on social media. Then I get more in-depth information from a couple podcasts I listen to. I like listening to Tucker. I got to get into a little bit more. As far as news, Tucker is one. Megyn Kelly is probably my go-to as far as just what happened today. Megyn Kelly is usually the best as far as I see. Candace Owens is more long-form, longer-term stories that she dives into. Those are the places that I usually get my information from as far as what's happening in the world other than X. The town square of the internet is X. That's where I'm at. So if any of you want to engage with me textually, you can text me at that number I already gave you, or you can follow me on X. My name on X is @DreAllDay. I'm live on X right now. Shout out to everybody who is watching me on X. Let me see if anybody's watching me on X. Actually, I probably can't even tell. On X, it gives me a number, but I don't know if that's the live number or that's just the total number, but I am live on X right now. And I got my soundboard. Hope y'all like the soundboard. And I will see everybody Monday morning. Monday. Today's Friday, so we're off on the weekends. We'll be back on Monday at 8 a.m. Eastern. Topic to be determined. Depends on what happens over the weekend or what happens to be trending on Monday. Whatever it is, we'll have something. Doesn't matter the topic. I'm going to be here. You're going to be here. That's good enough reason. Make sure you text me my number, 305-384-6894. I will see everybody Monday morning. Text me so you can get my book, The Mirror of Motivation. Again, I'll give you the book free. Just cover the shipping. Go to mirrorofmotivation.com or just send a text to the number 305-384-6894 with the word mirror. Text the word mirror. We will send you a link to get this book for free. And I do respond to my text, so I will text you back. Of course, we got some automated text in there, so you'll know when there's an automated text. It'll be obvious. And when the text comes from me and a person texts you back, that is me. That's not my assistant. That's not my team. I do respond to my text. So you can engage with me directly through text message. Just text me at that number, 305-384-6894. Everybody have a great Friday, great weekend. Thank you, moderators. Thank you to my regulars who are in here consistently with the gifts and the likes. 150,000 likes here today. Shout out to the new people who just started following me. You are in for a great ride. We're on a great journey here. I will see everybody Monday morning. We are out of here. Work on your game. Have a great weekend.